The movie opens with an exterior shot of a club, where a man with a black car is taking in several girls, as they exit the club and get into a car. That is, except for one girl, who hesitates and appears unwilling to get in. The man begins to rough up the girls, and slaps the hesitant one. Suddenly, he gets shot in the head, as if someone is sniping him from a distance, and the rest of the girls rush away from the scene. Meanwhile, in a park, another man receives news that the club guy has been shot. He demands to know how, but the call cuts off. He retrieves a gun from his bag and sits down calmly, as if he is waiting for the murderer, but as a bus drives by, and in that same moment, he is also shot in the neck, and blood drips down his pants. In the next scene, two guys are walking on the street. One of them is bald, looking tense while talking over the phone. They are afraid that someone is after their entire team. During the conversation, the guy who was following the bald guy is snatched into a nearby alleyway. Then the bald guy, suspicious while looking for his missing friend, goes to look in the alleyway, where someone shoots him in the head as well, finishing them both off and leaving their bodies in the alleyway to rot. Next, a punk-looking guy is in the parking lot, talking on the phone. He says two names, that Naos and Yakamoto are after them. Then he sits in the car, and a young girl named Hinako is sitting beside him in tears. Just when the punk is about to set off, the driver's side glass shatters, and someone slits his throat. The culprit is a masked man. However, the punk bleeds out on the spot and falls head first into the steering wheel, causing the car to drive by itself. The masked guy is Fable, who is a professional murder machine. He tries to stop the car, as the girl inside could be hurt by an accident. To save the girl, Fable jumps out of another car and hangs into the driver's side car door, and drives the car here and there to save Hinako. He dodges many cars, and drives back and forth, thinking he can stop the car. Eventually, he manages to get inside the car through the trunk and finds Hinako unconscious, so he holds her. He quickly notices that the car is about to fly off from the parking lot's top floor, so he jumps out with Hinako, falling onto another car, while the previous car crashes head first onto the ground. After saving the girl, Fable leaves her lying in the car and runs away. The scene shifts to a children's welfare center, where a man named Atsubo is delivering an empowering speech on the responsibility of the strong to protect the weak. He runs a non-profit organization for helping children. He is taking care of Hinako now, who was in the accident, and is now paralyzed from the waist down, sitting in a wheelchair. Atsubo concludes his speech, receiving admiration for his work with children. Going outside, he meets a little deaf girl, and gives her a piece of candy. He looks like such a nice guy. However, the next scene reveals a different side of Atsubo, as he tortures a boy with his mouth taped up. As Atsubo removes the tape from the boy's mouth, he screams in terror. Atsubo then starts styling the boy's hair like a chicken and mocks him, calling him a chicken. He explains that the boy's parents have coddled him and raised him like a baby chick, making him weak and helpless. Atsubo also accuses the boy of doing many bad things, including excessive spending and sexual assault, which makes him a spoiled brat. Atsubo believes that such children should be murdered instead. He then puts a rope around the boy's neck, and ties the other end to the arm of a crane. Apparently, Atsubo takes money from wealthy parents to counsel their children, but in reality, he murders them if they misbehave, or do not comply with his plans. Atsubo signals Suzuki to lift the crane, which lifts the boy and suffocates him. Mr. Atsubo is pouring red wine while introducing his new employee, Isaki, to Suzuki and Hinako, the girl previously seen in a wheelchair. Atsubo claims that great teams consist of 4 members, such as the Fantastic Four, or the Sex Pistols. In a later conversation, Suzuki questions Atsubo about his trust in Isaki, to which Atsubo replies that he will eliminate Isaki if he becomes an obstacle. Atsubo's main reason for hiring Isaki was that he previously worked for the Meguro Company, where the legendary superhero Fable was also employed. Suzuki expresses disbelief in Fable's existence, calling it a myth. Atsubo, however, refutes Suzuki's claim, revealing that he was the only one who ever survived Fable's attack. The scene starts with Fable sitting in front of the television, watching a cheesy Japanese show. He is now living a normal life, leaving the life of an assassin, and now works in a marketing company alongside his boss and 2 colleagues, Kainoma and Misaki. In the office, the boss and Misaki are having fun, as the boss is saying to Misaki that she is looking good with her new haircut, then asks Fable if he notices something different. Fable, oblivious, says that she looks like a Balboa snake, which is red, white and black, beautiful but venomous. Fable's boss hands him a package and instructs him to deliver it as quickly as possible to a non-profit organization that helps children. Meanwhile, Atsubo is taking Hinako somewhere, and she expresses her discomfort with Isaki, saying he seems creepy. Atsubo tells her he will consider firing Isaki if that's what she wants, but while speaking, he inappropriately touches Hinako. Atsubo and his team survey the safety of a bridge in the park, as the height should be safe enough for the children, while Hinako, in her wheelchair, passes by the swings. She tries to stand up, holding on to the highest of the swings, but falls down. Fable, who happens to be riding his bike nearby, stops, but does not approach to aid her. He assures her that she will be able to walk again, from afar, but Hinako dismisses it as a cliché and wheels herself away. Fable meets up with his sister Yoko, and arrives right on time, when she is cooking something for herself. He asks her if she remembers the incident from 5 years ago in December. Yoko has a superhuman memory, and she recounts the events of that day, mentioning that the murdered man was involved in a prostitution ring. The investigation into Hinako Saba's involvement is still ongoing. This triggers Fable, as he knows something is fishy. Misaki gazes at herself in the mirror, noticing her look, and wonders why Fable referred to her as a venomous snake. She has high ideals of beauty about herself. Meanwhile, Kainuma is in his room, and whole room is covered by Misaki's posters and pictures, plastering it all over his walls. He is in love with her. He even goes to the extent of stalking her through a surveillance camera. The following day, Fable goes to work, and his boss asks him to create a Christmas drawing for Atsubo's non-profit organization. While on the way, Fable goes to the park, where he encounters Hinako once more. Hinako struggles to lift herself up to the highest bar, and falls yet again. Fable is nearby, and suggests that she needs to use the lower bar first and then work her way up, but Hinako distances herself from him, thinking of him as a pervert. As Atsubo and his gang plan to blackmail another child victim, Isaki takes note of the details. When Hinako returns home in her wheelchair, Suzuki asks her if everything is alright. She reveals that a guy is stalking her, but does not ask for his help. Still, Suzuki thinks of settling the score with Fable. In a car, Atsubo tells Isaki about how Hinako's parents were ruthlessly murdered by an assassin, and how she has been suffering since then. They are on a lookout for Misaki, Fable's co-worker. Atsubo and Isaki trick Misaki into thinking that secret cameras have been installed in her flat, but instead, they install cameras in her home, to frame Kainuma and blackmail his parents. Fable arrives at the park, hoping to see Hinako, but she isn't there. While sitting on a bench, Suzuki appears and warns him to stay away from Hinako, kicking him in the face. The following day, Fable goes to work and shows his boss the funny drawings he made. His boss is impressed, but tells him to go make a delivery instead. Meanwhile, Atsubo and Isaki are monitoring the feed from the cameras they set up at Misaki's home. When the doorbell rings, Fable is at the door. He recognizes Atsubo from somewhere, squinting at him as he spots Hinako in the room. Atsubo, thinking Fable and Hinako know each other, invites him inside. They have a chat, and Hinako brings tea for Fable. Despite the tea being hot, he shouts but keeps sipping it, and Hinako likes the gesture. Later, Atsubo abruptly enters Hinako's room and startles her. He seems jealous of Fable, and starts to take off his shirt while harassing Hinako, even though she tells him that she's on her period. Hinako is the victim of domestic violence and cannot do anything about it. Fable visits Yoko's place and reminisces that 5 years ago, he was tasked to end 6 men, but one was cancelled at the last minute. He reveals that he's Atsubo, who runs the non-profit organization. Hinako goes to the park again and tries to stand up using the lowest bar, and succeeds this time. She looks around for Fable, hoping that he's watching her from somewhere, but she finds no one. Sadly, she goes back home, unaware that Fable was watching her from behind a tree. Fable is aware that she needs his help. Meanwhile, Atsubo calls Kainuma's parents and informs them about his secret spying on Misaki, also including the camera that they placed. They blackmail his mother with evidence of his actions and demand ransom money, threatening to take the case to court otherwise. This event twists Kainuma's mind, and he wants to take revenge for his lost reputation. In his room, Kainuma is cutting up Misaki's picture with a knife while Suzuki listens in, and alerts Atsubo that Kainuma may try to slay Misaki. Atsubo laughs in enjoyment, as he sees this as an opportunity to murder Kainoma and collect the money, and get away with it more easily. Atsubo is a sharp-minded criminal. The next day, Kainoma comes to the office, looking disturbed and agitated, and he starts bleeding when he bites his nails. While their boss goes to the bathroom, Kainoma attempts to stab Misaki with a knife, but Fable intervenes at the right time and knocks him out. The office is in shock, but Kainoma suddenly gets up and runs off. Fable follows him and sees Suzuki carrying Kainoma on his shoulder. He fires a shot at him, which Fable dodges. Suzuki then calls Atsubo and informs him that when he was kidnapping Kainoma, Fable was there. Atsubo then plans to take out Fable, and Hinako overhears the whole conversation. Suzuki stops the car and orders Isaki to take care of Kainoma. He then goes on to find Fable, but he notices Fable right in front of him on a bicycle, watching him from afar. When Suzuki tries to draw his gun, Fable approaches him, threatening him without any explanation, demanding Kainoma is returned within 24 hours or something bad is going to happen to Suzuki, then rides away. Fable returns to the office and informs the boss that he couldn't find Kainoma. The boss tells Misaki to call the police. He then asks Fable about his identity, and suggests that he's a fighter who has lost someone and now avoids conflicts, even if it means crying. Fable, devoid of any emotions, agrees with his boss's assumption, and the boss hugs him so tightly that he lifts him off the ground. As Suzuki talks to Isaki on the phone, Kainoma is being tasered. He demands Fable's address, but Kainoma denies knowing it, and instead offers up the address of Yoko, Fable's sister, stating further that Misaki often stays there. Isaki continues to tase Kainoma until he finally gives up the address of the Meguro Company dorm, which is a secret contract hitman agency. Back at Yoko's place, she's cooking dinner when someone comes in. Yoko knows it's Fable, as he always comes at dinner time, but instead she finds Suzuki holding a gun and pointing it at her. He demands to know where Fable is, but Yoko refuses to comply, and warns him that he's messing with the wrong person. In a swift move, she hits the table, retrieves the gun, and points it at Suzuki, then she disassembles his gun and puts it on the table. He challenges her to test her brother's legend, that he can end a man in 6 seconds, but Yoko boasts that she can do it in 5 and still save 1 second for her food not to burn. The fight between Yoko and Suzuki begins, as he throws the table at her, but she easily dodges it and proceeds to strangle him with her thigh. She subdues him, and then checks the timer and realizes that she took 8 seconds, causing her meal to burn. This means Fable is much stronger. Meanwhile, Isaki leaves the car in a hurry to use the restroom, not noticing that Kainoma is dragging himself like a worm out of the car, and when he returns, he discovers that Kainoma is not there. In a state of confusion, he gets into the car and accidentally runs over Kainoma, crushing him beneath his car. At the same time, Fable arrives at Yoko's house and finds Suzuki tied to a chair. He is hurt badly. He demands that Suzuki reveal Kainoma's whereabouts. When Suzuki calls Isaki and puts the call on speaker, they learn that Kainoma is gone, as Isaki accidentally ran him over. Fable feels sad hearing this, and he approaches Suzuki, but instead of harming him, he cuts him free and instructs him to leave, because he has taken an oath not to take another life. Suzuki departs, then comes back to ask about Fable's reason for doing this. Fable instead offers him to eat tofu with him. Suzuki, still in hysterics, runs off. Suzuki then returns to Atsubo and recounts the story of Kainoma's loss, while having a drink. Suzuki tells him how he murdered Isaki, out of fear that he might reveal the truth. Atsubo asks for more details, and notices the scars on Suzuki's body. Suddenly, Suzuki points his gun at Atsubo, and tells him that although Fable spared his life, his reason for murdering Atsubo is much stronger. Atsubo reveals that he used to run a prostitution business, and the guy Fable shot at the beginning was his brother. Atsubo starts to punch the wall in anger and tells Suzuki that he seeks revenge for the murder of his brother. Listening to Atsubo's story, Suzuki decides to join forces with him once again. Meanwhile, Fable and Yoko also know the whole story, but Yoko speculates that Hinako might be a prostitute. However, Fable recalls that it only took him 2 seconds to end Atsubo's brother, and Hinako was crying at that time. He points out that no one can cry in 2 seconds, suggesting that Hinako is not a prostitute, rather, she is a victim of abduction. As Atsubo and Suzuki struggle to devise a plan to catch Fable, Hinako learns about all the plans. Hinako returns to the park, to try and climb the highest bar again. But she falls once more, and when she looks up, she sees Fable sitting in front of her. Fable approaches her and massages her leg, urging her to imagine that she can walk and feel the sensation in her leg. Hinako does not know that Atsubo is hearing the conversation through a microphone he planted on her. This helps Atsubo solve the final piece of his puzzle. Just as Fable stands up and prepares to say something, he is shot in the head. Hinako wakes up, realizing it was a nightmare, because she knows Atsubo and Suzuki are planning to murder Fable. Hinako pleads with Atsubo not to hurt Fable, as he is her friend and he gives her self-confidence. However, Atsubo confesses to Minako that he plans to take Fable's life because in the past, he shot his brother, and not only this, but he is also the murderer of Hinako's parents. A flashback ensues, and Hinako realizes that Fable's eyes resemble those of the man who slaughtered her parents. This revelation shocks her to the core. As Fable watches a television show, he calms down his noisy parrot, sensing impending danger. Meanwhile, Atsubo packs his guns and sees Hinako entering the room. She asks for a gun too, to help murder Fable. Suzuki, on the other hand, is also ready, working on something like an automatic booby trap for Fable. Atsubo and Hinako get in a car, but Atsubo gets out, gives a gift to a deaf little girl, and comes back. Fable and Yoko are sitting in their home, and Fable receives a call from Atsubo. Atsubo tells him to meet in his office, to discuss something about Hinako. During the call, Fable addresses Atsubo by his real name, and Atsubo addresses Fable by the name Akira. Fable reaches Atsubo's place, as Suzuki watches him head towards the flat. Fable opens the door slightly, but notices a trap with an infrared trigger, and closes it quickly to avoid the explosion. He jumps off the building to evade the blast, then climbs back up to the 6th floor wall. Two men approach him, and he sneaks into a room to avoid them, while Suzuki guides them. Fable confronts a henchman, dodges him, and jumps off the balcony. As the henchman investigates, Fable hangs from his feet and pulls the henchman down. They fight until Fable knocks him unconscious, then runs to the 1st floor and escapes through the ground level. Fable receives a call from Atsubo, informing him that a deaf girl lives in flat 3108, and a teddy bear given to her by Atsubo will explode. Fable rushes to save the little girl and returns to the building, ordering Yoko to eliminate the snipers on the roof. Fable fights the henchmen one by one, knocking them out instead of ending them. Suzuki calls for Plan C to take down Fable, and more henchmen start shooting at him. Fable avoids all the bullets and jumps out of a window, landing on the outdoor stairs. He shoots many henchmen there as well. He reaches the 10th floor, and Atsubo alerts his men. Fable finds the key to the room and enters it, narrowly avoiding a sniper shot. However, he does not find the girl in the room. Meanwhile, the girl spots a balloon and follows it outside. Fable is confronted by a henchman as he enters the flat. They engage in a fierce fight, while a sniper takes aim at Fable. The sniper misses the first shot, but just as he is about to take the second shot, Yoko intervenes and subdues the henchman. Yoko spots a little girl standing on the scaffolding and shouts to Fable to save her. Another henchman grabs Fable by the neck, but he drops a bomb beneath the scaffolding, causing it to break apart. Fable manages to escape the henchman, but is faced with more henchmen, armed with guns. He shoots the joint of the scaffolding, causing it to break apart further, and then charges towards the henchmen, knocking them down as he runs. Fable rescues the girl and finds candies in her bag instead of a bomb. Fable gives Yoko the order to follow Suzuki, while Atsubo and Hinako are traveling in a forest. Yoko ends up in the same forest and sees Suzuki standing near a tree. He throws something in front of her car, causing her to jump out of the car. Suzuki then takes advantage of the situation and points a gun at Yoko's head, informing her that it was only a rock and not a grenade, telling her further that she is inexperienced. After tying Yoko to a tree, Atsubo and Hinako appear. Atsubo gives Hinako bullets and orders her to practice shooting on Yoko. Instead, Hinako shoots Atsubo. However, Atsubo is wearing a bulletproof vest, and he gets up from the ground and laughs like crazy. Hinako then points her gun at him again, revealing that she knows he was behind her parents' murder, and demanding to know how he knew about their throats being slit, when it was a secret kept by the police. Atsubo confesses that he did it and enjoyed it. Her parents' last wish was for him to spare Hinako, he answers, making it seem like a joke. This news enrages Hinako, causing her to try standing up. She tries harder and harder, until she is finally able to stand up from her wheelchair, and approaches Atsubo, pointing the gun at him. She is unable to shoot and misses 2 shots, but Suzuki stops her and reveals that she has stepped on a landmine. Atsubo becomes angry at Hinako, as the mine was meant for Fable. Hinako is on the verge of losing consciousness, but Fable catches her just in time. He then requests Suzuki's help, who agrees to free Yoko and follow Fable's lead. Fable instructs Suzuki to operate the excavator machine, and places its arm on the landmine. After lowering the arm, Fable counts to 3, and pulls Hinako's feet as well, which causes the explosion TP happen under the machine's arm, saving everyone. Atsubo takes advantage of this moment and throws a grenade towards the group, but Suzuki shoots him in the head, ending his life. Fortunately, the grenade was not active, and Atsubo had only thrown it to get shot. The group then proceeds to bury Atsubo. Fable returns to his office the next day, where the boss and Misaki are concerned about Kainuma's absence. They then inquire about the Christmas drawing that Fable was supposed to make. Fable shows them the drawing, depicting Hinako getting up from her wheelchair to receive presents by the Christmas tree. The boss and Misaki are impressed by the drawing. Meanwhile, Yoko is celebrating Christmas without Fable. He receives a letter from Hinako telling him to burn the letter after reading. In it, she expresses her gratitude towards him. She confesses that she would have been sold to a brothel if Fable had not saved her, and she holds no grudge against him. Instead, she has a deep appreciation for him. Hinako also tells Fable that she will be able to walk again in 6 months, just as he told her. She asks him to think of her, and Fable burns the letter. And so, the movie comes to an end.